Hi, everybody. Welcome to My Other's Keeper. I'm excited to again have Bryan Lucas, who is a poet, come on. The other day we had him on and we talked about some very difficult topics, including a lot of dysfunction in his childhood. We touched a little bit on how the dysfunction bled forward into his adulthood. Today, though, we are going to talk about his poetry and not specifics about the dysfunction, but how poetry has helped to soothe his soul and has helped his mind to grow and his person to grow. At the moment, he is away from the camera for just a couple of minutes, so now you've just got me. And I just want to say hi to everybody who's here already. Kimberly, and I spelt your name with an L-E-Y because that's how I spell my name, so that was an accident. Sorry about that. Crystal and Joel, nice to see you all here. I'm so excited that you all are here. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in as we're talking. I will star them and we can take a look at them after, or when the time is appropriate to take a break into doing some questions and that sort of thing. Does that make sense to you? I hope so. So yeah, I am more than happy to answer any questions as well about myself. I'm an open book, not really a poetry book, but I'm a book nonetheless. Let's see. Crystal is here. She's actually visiting me right there. And when I say right there, I mean that way on the screen because it's backwards and it does weird things. So I don't know what that is. Anyways, so now that you've just got me, we're, like I said, we're going to be talking about Bryan's poetry. Maybe take a look into your own mind. And if you were to write a poem about yourself, whether you're a good poet or not, if you were to write a poem about yourself, what would you write? What would be your topic? How would you approach it? Like, would you approach it as somebody taking a second look at something, somebody reviewing something, or completely symbolic? So, yeah, put that into the comments. And I would love to see where you would go poetically with your own journeys, with your own lives. So here we go. And here is Bryan.
Hi.
Hello, my friend.
Hi.
Hi.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
other way. Yep. Everything's backwards. So, yeah,
That
you
way.
went that way. Yeah.
uh. So yeah. The dog had to go out.
Excellent. Glad you took the time.
Yeah. So I guess we.
Okay.
So where should
As
we
I was
start?
explaining to everybody, well, I was just explaining to everybody that we're not going to get into the nitty gritty details of continuing your life story simply because that's A, difficult, and
Hmm.
B, sometimes it's very intertwined. So it
Oh
can
yeah.
be a bit of a plate of spaghetti going all over the place. So we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
talk about your poetry and how that has um, helped to, I don't remember the phrase that I used. Basically, what it's done for your life to be able to speak things out, using it as as a tool for figuring yourself out.
All right.
So, you and I talked before this about several different poems and subjects to start with poems. And I'd love to hear where you'd like to start. Maybe start out with what the poem is, what led to it, and then go into the poem, and then we can discuss some of the imagery after as well.
All right.
Bet you didn't think this was going to be a poetry appreciation class, did you?
Well, I guess I can start off with one of the earliest poems I wrote that I
Mm-hmm.
actually was proud of.
Okay.
I wrote it coming down off an acid trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all about my spiritual journey. I
Okay.
didn't realize that at the time. Of course, I was, let's see here, 22.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. It was because I got the date in there because it's called late Christmas Eve morning, and I wrote it
Mm.
I wrote it here between 4 and 5 a.m. on December 24th, 1994.
Wow. Okay.
And it goes late. Hence, I called it late Christmas Eve morning because I was up late Christmas Eve morning.
Okay.
And it goes, at this moment, here. Shattered into a million pieces, I am here. With no pardon, with no man's reason, I am here. I fear a lot of things. Thoughts drip in and out through my ears. They call to me. I am here. Here's where I am, and here's where I'll be until you get here to see me. I am waiting patiently, like a serpent, but with no insidious intent. It all looms in cherry red balloons that are sugar coated with XTC so that we can see what's inside of you and me. With no reason for the rhyme that's on our tongues, it all becomes one and then shattered out on the western sky. The pieces become brittle and dry, and he steps up for one last try. There's the pitch, hit, score one for the home team. The ball flies out from the night sky, out in the space. There, in the face of God, a great conjunction takes place, and behold, the child, born of a virgin, takes his place among the ranks of men and shakes the world like a rattle. The pieces are all there. The rattle cracks and the pieces fall out. Devil may care. And we are there. We are there to point them out, to say, we are here. Here is where we are, and here's where we will always be, picking up the pieces lying in infinity.
That was awesome. That was really great.
Yeah.
So tell us your process of doing that particular poem. Like you said, you were coming down off an acid trip.
I just started writing.
And it was
just stream of consciousness, and there is some Eliot in there. All right, let me give you let me give you an example. I don't know who's ever heard of T.S. Eliot. He's one of the my favorite poem in the English language, I think, in my opinion, is the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. All right, segue this into some Eliot. Where do you go? Where do you go here? He uses the that sporadic rhyme, that all that rhyme. You know, where's and where's it? Like a serpent with insidious intent. Yeah, I definitely I took the serpent without insidious intent. I stole that straight from Eliot. Where should have been a little bit more prepared.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And Orange Spring. Anyways,
Kimberly's asking if Cats wasn't also from T.S. Eliot's work. That's Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Cats?
I know that, but was Cats kind of based on?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was based on it. At least not that I've ever heard.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, not that I ever heard. Okay. But yeah, that was. I didn't realize that at the time, though. You know, because I used a lot of Buddhist metaphors. Being at this moment here, shattered into a million pieces. I am here, trying to ground myself into that moment, right? And then, of course, I got the references to psychedelics in there, XTC, the rhyme, you know, the rhyme that's on our tongue. But it's all about, you know, finding that center. And then, you know, I don't know why I put the baseball metaphor in there.
Because you were getting something into space.
Well, and baseball, like I told you before, I was never much of a sports person.
Right.
Yeah, but I did play baseball.
Okay.
And, you know, my mom was a baseball fan. You know, but what that led to, I specifically remember, because it was Christmas time, right? And I was over at my friend's house. No, my friend was at my friend's apartment. You know, and we were watching History Channel, and there was this program part that is about the Jesus birth story and all that stuff, and they were talking about the Star of Bethlehem,
Hmm.
and and the thing was that at that around the year 4 BC,
Hmm.
around that there was a conjunction of a couple stars and a
Yep.
planet, and they theorized that the Magi,
We're
magicians,
following
they were
that.
astrologers, and that was if that what if everything was cracked up to be, that was one of the a candidate for the Star of David. I mean, not Star, the
Right.
Star of Bethlehem,
Yes. Yeah.
and and then Christianity was really uh, you know my my basic my spiritual base, my my early religious, I don't want to say indoctrination, but education
Yes.
was in the Christian church.
Right.
So those metaphors, those images came to me naturally,
Hmm.
and then I liked how I juxtaposed it with shakes the world like a rattle, the pieces fall out,
Yep.
the rattle cracks, pieces fall out, devil may care,
Yep.
because the world is
Broken.
in that, but also in that mythology,
Hmm.
the world belongs to the devil, and God's up in heaven. Just that was part of the
That idea.
processing.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that till later on. That's the thing. That's the thing. How my brain works, and
Yep.
the thing about poetry, the thing about
Hmm.
any art, you know, is you know you put so much into it, uh, and sometimes like some of the best, like I don't even know where it comes from. Sometimes, like
Mm.
one I wrote just a little while ago. Uh, the this I did the one of the, my did a video on a couple like 2 videos ago called on
Okay.
depression.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
yeah, and he goes, if I can, I think I can remember this. He goes, depression is funny. It can take on many forms. Mine has been the state of my yard, overgrown with weeds and sticker bushes. I told myself it was a garden for wildflowers, a home for the cute little critters. Here, home for cute little critters. That's on here. Home for cute little critters. But there are briars and brambles and then there bushes, and they draw blood when you start
Hmm.
clearing them out.
Hmm.
So yeah, uh, that came from I was having an email exchange with a friend of mine, and I told her about this idea I had, and she was like, "Write it." Then I looked over at my notebook, grabbed it, and just started and busted that out.
That's right.
I have no, sometimes I have no control over it, and sometimes I do. It just
Right.
depends.
Yep.
Uh, so other ways I've tried to express myself or my feelings in my poetry. Um, got one that deals a little bit with my ex-wife.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I lived in San Antonio, Texas, for
Hmm.
from 2014 to 2017,
Okay. So a
and
few years.
yeah, a few years. And one of the things I would do just to get away from the madness is I'd go out in the backyard, hang out with the dogs, and smoke cigars and write.
Hmm.
And this was basically a journal entry, and it kind of shows what was going on in my head at the time. And it's called
Hmm.
Stuck on Petrenko Road, San Antonio, Texas, because we
Okay.
lived right off of Petrenko Road. It
Okay.
goes, there's gridlock going on, my friend. My thoughts are jumbled up against themselves. A rush hour's traffic jam that's been running on fumes. There's no service stations in my immediate future, at least none that I can find on any map. There's bumper to bumper now, my friend. My brain's got clogged up cast off incomplete thoughts of ideas, scattered and strewn across the pavement, grasped at images, shadows, and flickers, grinding gears, foot slipping off the clutch. There's an urgent need for a transmission overhaul. I was wanting to get the hell out of there.
Sounds like it. A little bit of
Yeah,
desperation,
yeah,
not a whole lot of hope.
no, definitely not a whole lot of hope.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and the irony is, this was in April
Hmm.
of 2017. In June of 2017, my best friend got diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
That's no fun.
no, and he is homebound and disabled.
Hmm.
Has no family really that he could trust.
Mm.
And at the time, we were living with her.
Hmm.
We were living with her parents.
Hmm.
So we basically had no real bills. I had my disability. She was working two jobs because she just gotten her master's. So she's starting to bring in money.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to go help my friend.
Hmm.
Of course, she made it all about her.
Of course.
And, I came home and didn't go back. So
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people in the world that can say someone getting cancer saved their life.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
unusual.
yeah, and when and thank God my friend is cancer free now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so there's that there, and that I don't want to say I'll be ever forever grateful for him for that,
For
but
getting cancer. Yeah, no.
getting cancer, but it gave me the distance I needed, and there for a long time I felt stuck. I did
Yeah.
feel extremely stuck,
Yeah.
and but by the end of that year I was divorced.
Okay.
So uh yeah, I'm
Really
glad he
saying
made
she's
I'm glad
exactly.
he
Yeah.
made it too. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. We've known each other for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm despite everything in my life, I
Hmm.
know, and I touched on this with you one time. I know how
Yeah.
extremely lucky I am when
Yes.
it comes to certain things. You
Yes.
know, what I went through
Hmm.
growing up could have turned me into a monster,
Hmm.
but I did not let it.
Nope.
And I have I my circumstances for me are not necessarily ideal right now, but they could be worse,
Yeah.
and and things happen for a reason. Sometimes
It's a
finding that
testament
reason.
to your character. It's a testament to your character that it didn't make you bitter, angry, um,
Oh, I'm
destructive.
bitter. I'm
Okay,
bitter and angry.
but you can still smile, you can still laugh, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
still
yeah.
have, some positivity in you.
Yeah, there is, but what one of the things that has got me through life is hope.
Yes, exactly.
And hope for better tomorrow, or just the hope of making it through the next moment.
Hmm.
But so I lost my train of thought again. Um,
Okay.
but going on to the where is it here? Uh, no, it's in here. Yeah, we were talking. I was talking earlier about. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Um, One of the things that, and also goes with the along with the spirituality
Hmm.
uh, aspect, is especially in the last several years, coming to terms with the place we all must go.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
you know, I I'll just let me read this here, see if you can. Okay, this right here is called "And Here I Sit," subtitled "My Mortality Meditation," and it's I'll just read it to you. It goes, "And here I sit, midway through this life, this old, worn cliche that I found to be true, that fate fashioned this way, like it was already written down on that ephemeral page. The single sheet we gets shorter, shorter, age by age. This life, this one, this one and only that's been, this one, only this, else none, a puzzle complete, never finished again. And here I sit in my mind, my intellect, in my core. I know all around I'll find, as now, as will be, as before. A story told over and over, told since time's fiery dawn, a tale told then, now and ever, a tale all tread upon. Not new, profound, no, it's not. It's been said, all's been done, in lives remembered until forgot. In this life, it's only this one. And here I sit, I think, I ponder, mull over, meditate, analyze this life which I whine, I wander, with which I wither, thrive, has made its turn towards our fate, which go I must, past slow motion, future fast forward, memories carved in so much dust, that without warning, or that without notice nor warning, that on the merest of whim, the tick tocks of time's turning, the end, the inevitable end.
That's wonderful.
Well, like it's not quite done.
Okay. And neither is your mortality.
Well, yeah, and the whole idea behind this one is we got this life,
Hmm.
and we got this life. This is the only one we're guaranteed,
Hmm.
but we're only one of billions,
Hmm.
and that makes us special. But it doesn't make us special,
Right.
or should I reverse it? It's we're special, but we're not special. Everybody's story is special. Uh, that's why I haven't finished the last part.
Mm,
But you see the
okay.
process. You see the
Yes,
processing there. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's my poetry. Uh, it it's it's like I told you before we came on. I don't know why I have not written about certain things,
Hmm.
especially my early childhood. I haven't written really anything about the Navy,
Okay.
and but there's actually I think my Navy experiences would be probably better served in a prose type form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I have an idea to do a separate YouTube channel
Okay.
from my current one to talk about sea story. We call them sea stories, sea
Yes.
stories,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
talk about the places I've been. Like I've been to, I counted them up not too long ago. 26 countries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, first
Wow.
country I, first country I ever went to was Cuba. Actually, yeah,
Okay.
Guantanamo Bay. Uh,
Oh,
the
wow.
ship,
Okay.
the ship I was on, we were doing anti-drug ops. See, this is a story into itself. We were doing anti-drug ops
Mhm,
down in the Caribbean, right?
mhm.
And we got intelligence, and there's actual receipts that they did about 10 years ago or so. I found a news story actually on this. Um, we got intelligence that there was a Russian drug czar on a Carnival cruise line.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the middle of the night, the ship I was on, it came up alongside the ship in our what they call the Coast Guard, along with what they call the Visit Board Search and Seizure Team.
Okay.
Right, went on board and went to the dude's stateroom, yanked him out of there. Yeah,
Wow.
and the reason I know this is one of the guys I worked with was actually on that team, and he said that the woman, the wife, because he was on vacation with his kids, said, "Why?"
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like, "Why can't you?" She asked him uh, if they could just wait and pick him up when they got into port, so he could finish off vacation. No, so we picked him up and dropped him off in Cuba. So the very first country I ever went to was Cuba,
Wow. What an
and then
experience.
yeah, and been the yeah I've been around South America. Like my first deployment
Okay,
after
yes.
we did those anti-drug ops, we picked up the USS Ronald Reagan on her
Mhm.
maiden voyage and escorted her around South America. So went through down, the coldest I've ever been in June. I'll tell you, because
Really?
we were in the southern hemisphere.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. So June, yeah, I spent June, July of 2004 in winter. Yeah,
Whoops.
yeah, and handed her off. We did some war games with some South American navies,
Okay.
because it was an opportunity to hobnob with all them, and
Mhm.
in the process, I got to see Chile, and Peru, and we came back through the Panama Canal and back to Mississippi because I was stationed in Mississippi.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, at the time, and so I've been literally around South America.
Mm,
Yeah, I've
cool.
set, been through the, visited. I got to visit a lot of Southern Europe, um, uh, Middle East. I've been to the Holy Land.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Wow.
got to. Yeah, spent a week. Yeah, we had another sea story. We were my I was on the USS uh, San Jacinto,
Mhm.
and we were what they call independent steaming in the Eastern Mediterranean. So basically, we
Okay.
were there if the higher ups needed someone to do something, we were there to do
Mhm.
it. So
Okay.
yeah, like at one point we were following around the Russian Black Sea Fleet because they hadn't sailed into the Med for a long time, so we were just following them around, seeing what they were doing.
Okay.
Well, we stopped off in Crete to do some, and we were going to actually stay there for a couple days, and
Mhm.
that's got a lot of history there.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
the Minoan ruins. I was wanting to go see them. Want to go see them. Well, we got intelligence that Syria was going to do a possible ballistic missile test.
Oh, my.
Stuff you don't hear every day.
No.
And um, and we were there in Crete, which is, and we were there. We were the closest asset with our radar, where we could get close enough to it to see if they did it right.
Mhm.
Well, at this time there was a bad storm barreling down towards Crete.
Mm. Oh,
So
boy.
my captain was like, "We're going through it," and yeah, I was
Mhm.
actually walking on bulkheads, because it was interesting when the ship was swaying back and forth, you know, and then
At which point my whole stomach could be going, "Mhm."
yeah, but what happened during that storm? We busted a line shaft bearing, so uh, that's on the ships. You got the propeller shafts, right?
Mhm.
And because they're so long and they're really, really heavy
Mm-hmm.
metal beams,
Mm-hmm.
you have these bearings that connect them together. That way, it will alleviate some of the torque, and
Right.
the shaft won't twist.
Right. The shaft itself.
Yeah, the
There's
shaft
some.
itself won't twist. So
Gotcha.
one of those bearings broke during that
Oh
storm.
no. Oh
Yeah, so
no. Yeah.
we were sailing around on one screw, so we got to spend an extra 3 or 4 days in Haifa, Israel.
Oh wow.
Yeah, while engineers came from the United States to help the engineers fix it, and
Yeah.
I got to go see Nazareth.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to
Okay, we
see.
won't get into the politics of it, but I bet you have very interesting perspective on what's going on out there right now. We won't get into
Okay,
that, but
no
just
politics of it, but I actually did talk to a lot of people, a lot of different people, and one of the most interesting conversations I had was with a Israeli Arab cab driver.
mhm,
Yeah, he didn't. From what I remember, he said he didn't get what the whole deal was. You know,
mhm,
he just wanted to live, make money,
mhm.
and just feed his family and live his life.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's what most of the people over there, from what I gathered,
Yeah.
and because this was in 2008 when I was there,
Okay. Yep.
so it was a little while back.
Yep.
But a lot of these things that are happening now have their basis way back. Way
Oh,
back in
yes.
antiquity. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah. Um, so yeah, I figure what led into this. I figure that my experiences for those 12 years I was in the Navy would be better
Mhm.
suited for something like poetry, not poetry per se, but something like telling stories. You know,
Or a series of essays or something.
yeah, yeah, a series
Yeah.
of essays, but that would probably lend itself to a good YouTube channel. Who knows?
That would. Yeah.
Um, so, so yeah, so if we got anything more in here, is there anything you got any questions or?
I'm just going to take a look at our conversation that we
Yeah,
had prior.
yeah,
And oops, a second. Okay, so we've done something about your ex-wife. We've done something about your religious
yeah.
journey.
Hmm.
You haven't done anything specifically about your youth, but
Well,
how? Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, how has writing poetry been a help for you to process that, or has it been helpful
Well,
for you to process all of that?
again, it's something I haven't delved into.
Right.
You know, um, and that stuff is painful, and
Absolutely.
and figuring out what I want to write, how I want to write it.
Mm-hmm.
You the simple choice between do I want to write something rhyming or do I want to just write something free verse? I figure something like that would probably lend itself more to free verse.
Yes.
And then what metaphors I want to use, what
Mm-hmm.
subjects I want to attack,
Mm-hmm.
because you know, childhood essay is not something you take, you delve into lightly. Uh,
It's
you
something
know,
that would probably be very. It would lend itself to a lot of symbolism
yes,
and like
and
that sort of thing. I think.
yeah, and those metaphors, I don't know exactly what symbols and metaphors I would use.
Right. So, do you tend to plan those types of things out prior to writing a poem?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, maybe. Um, I wrote one. Well, I wrote one. Getting into my process here,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote one not too long ago. Well, last year about my hometown,
Okay.
and the image. It's all images,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what what started it was I was walking down to the store to go store, and I looked down, and there was this undershell of this poor little turtle.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, it'd been there. I could see it'd been there for a while, but suddenly I
Okay.
got the image of turkey vultures twirling around in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the images. The images here. Let me it's the images. The turkey vultures hover over last night's roadkill, breaking fast. Here,
Mm-hmm.
let me pull it up. Aha, here. It goes here. The specific image is the turkey vultures hover over last night's roadkill, breaking fast as the sun peeks her head above the warm horizon. You know, this whole poem, it's a pretty long. It's one of my longer ones. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about. It's basically a love letter to my hometown. And when I got that image, I was like, okay, what can I do with it? And then I saw a woodpecker
Mm-hmm.
in my front yard, sticking his beak into one of the stumps out there, trying to get
Mm-hmm.
breakfast. So
Yeah.
I went. The first part of it was I had it take place in the morning. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, how many images should I use? So I was like, okay, do I? And then it was like five. So it was like five images, 3 lines each, and then had to figure out which images were, and it just kind of stepped in, came into uh, it kind of started writing itself after that, you
Okay.
know. And then I wrote the first part, and it's like it's basically it's a 3-part poem, but you can read it as one part, or as one whole poem.
Okay. Okay.
It's because part of it takes place in the morning, part of it takes place in
Mm-hmm.
the afternoon, part of it takes place in
Mm-hmm.
the evening.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's a poem chronicling a day around my hometown and all the different
Cool.
images that I've collected over the years. Like one of them is we have a lot of C-130s that
Mm-hmm.
I told you last time, Jacksonville Air Force Base, one of the largest Air Force bases in the United States, they train C-130 air pilots,
Okay.
and they are around here all the time. So I even use that, So it's picking out what I want to do and figuring out from there. Sometimes they just come to me. Like I
Uh,
had one. Um, this came actually from an email exchange. Where is it? No, okay, where's it? Lone Man Rambles. Um, I can actually know this. It's called the Lone Man Rambles, right? It goes the Lone Man
mhm.
rambles round and round down the road, along with the deafening sound of the thunder rumbles, the lightning shockwave breaking the speed of sound, streaking at the speed of the light into the ground, but it does not phase the birds warble on and on and on as if saying, still, be still, be still. Things always go as they will because the wind blows from the east, and only it knows the direction it most often flows. That's usually how it usually goes, as if it's trying to say, all is well, all is well, all manner of things are well.
That's lovely.
Yeah, that was I was going walking down to the store again, and I was hearing these different images.
Yeah.
The Yeah, so it's something I can control, but yet it's something I can't.
What happens to me is every now and then an image will come to my mind, or like a paragraph
Yeah,
for a piece of prose would come to my mind. It's like, oh, I need to store that for later because it's going to come in handy somewhere here, and that tends to work for me. But then I forget to write it down and then it's gone. Need to
well,
remember to write stuff down.
I call that shower poems.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be in the shower and I'll be thinking, and all that meditative process, and there's funny memes out there about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. Okay, I write masterpieces in the shower, and then when I get to the get to the
Yes.
notebook, they're all gone.
Yep, pretty much. That's just not fair. Yep. So you said that the poem about your hometown is long. Define long, and would it be too long for you to share with us?
Oh no, I can
Because
read it
the
in 3
images
minutes.
that you're discussing are
I can,
really
I can,
evocative.
I can read it in 3 minutes.
I can do that. We have time.
Uh,
Before we do that, I'm going to have two of Kimberly's questions. Is the winter in South America as harsh as it is here?
well, It was pretty cold. It was pretty
Hmm.
cold.
Hmm.
Um, I ended up when we stopped off in Punta del Este, Uruguay,
Hmm.
and all I had was this leather jacket on, this leather jacket. So I actually had to buy me a coat. So I ended up buying
Mm.
this really, really nice leather coat, which I still have.
Hmm.
Uh,
Nice.
so yeah, it can get, and uh, I really would like to go back down there. Uh, but if I had my choice to visit one of several places that I got to go when I was in the Navy, Uruguay would be one of those, and I would like to go
Yep.
down there during December, November, December, when it's the spring summer down there. Because from what they told
Yeah,
us, it was a kicking place down there.
I've heard.
Yeah, and then the other one would probably be Lisbon, Portugal.
Oh, okay.
Portugal is beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so someone else had another question.
No, it was the same person. Brian, do you meditate? I get all kinds of images from meditating. Kimberly
I
as well.
Yeah, I try to. I try to meditate semi regularly. You
Okay.
know,
And how do you get yourself into a meditative state?
um, start breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and I have over the past 6 months I was doing guided meditation through the VA for
Mm-hmm.
chronic pain and stuff, and I have those recordings that I made during that, and so yeah, I try to get into a comfortable place. Usually, I'm either laying in my bed or sitting in a chair and just start breathing. And um, sometimes I'll try to do the countdown 1 through 10 over and over in my head, and then sometimes I just let whatever goes through my head go through my head,
Mm-hmm.
and then just try to concentrate on breathing and take it from there.
Okay. Cool. All right. So lead us through the love story to your town.
Hometown. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
considering all, it's kind of funny considering when I think about it, considering all the baggage
Mm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
associated with this place. You
Yeah.
know, it's fun. It's called Enola. That's the name of my hometown. Uh, or a day in the life. It goes, in the morning, the bullfrogs croaked their good mornings to one and all in the cool, clear twilight of the deep purple dawn. The turkey vultures hover over last night's roadkill, breaking fast as the sun peeks her head above the warm horizon. The red-headed woodpecker digs his beak into a rotting tree stump, whirring away at a quick morning meal. The traffic goes by back and forth, the cars driving their occupants to their desperate destinations wherever they may be. The echoes of my footfalls on the tar-black pavement vibrates my bones as I walk to the store for a bacon, egg, and cheese. In the afternoon, the sun passes her zenith, shining down her warmth upon the C-130s whose contrails streak the great big blue sky. The laughter of the elementary school children playing at recess, burning off built up energy, travels on the lazy afternoon breeze. The neighborhood dogs bark back and forth to one another, a cryptically coded conversation only they are able to decipher. The distant roar of a mower coming to life rides in and all around upon the freshly cut grass-scented wind. The wail of the emergency siren being tested reminds me, like Pavlov's dog, the store's lunch special is chili dogs with cheese. In the evening, the store's neon open sign falls silent as the sun goes to her rest, sinking her way warily down in dust deepening twilight. The storm front blows through, lightning flashing, rumbling thunder, flotsam flying, branches about to break, then calm stillness, pin drop sound. The crickets chirp the all clear, bathed in ancient starlight, revealed by the clouds passing, the opening measure of nighttime's rhythm resuming. The moon slowly creeps above the horizon, adding his pale light to the dark broken by the occasional lights of cars going on to wherever. The coyotes hip and meow their goodnight, and the moon passes on his way as I lay my bones down to dream while the universe spins on.
That's beautiful. That is a love poem for your hometown.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, and every single one of these images I've experienced.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel it, like as you're explaining it, you can just,
Mhm.
or I guess maybe because my small town has so many of similar images, I can just really, in my brain, I can just feel the peace and the joy and the passion you have for where you're from.
Yeah, and I always knew that was a point of contention between me and my ex. Actually, it was also a point of contention with one of my ex girlfriends because,
Oh, okay.
when I was with this was 2006. I met this woman on eHarmony.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my first go around with eHarmony, and I remember talking a lot about home because I was homesick. And she's like, well, she's like, I don't want to move there. And I was like, well, we just met each other.
Yeah, exactly. We
but
met 15 minutes ago. I don't want to move anywhere with you yet.
But my ex-wife, the one from San Antonio, Texas, she used to spend summers here in Arkansas, up in the northwest part, because at one point her father was actually an instructor for the Air Force at the University of Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah, and her mother's family actually had a farm out in the middle of nowhere in that area.
Oh,
that's one of the reasons he got the job. He got the position there. He got assigned there, and and she'd spend summers here, and she hated it. Well, up there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm even though I wasn't born here, but I'm from here. Like I said, I call myself hillbilly stock redneck raised, here in the South. And I'm despite some of the baggage, I'm actually proud that I'm a Southern. I try to put that into my work. I don't know if you can see a Southern feel to it. I don't know.
With certain images like the coyotes, the turkey vultures, things like that.
Yeah.
Very, very Southern in my mind.
Yeah. So, but and there's a lot I can write about that too.
For sure.
But it's using what I've been through, and that's I'm glad I can write.
Me too. You're good at it.
I feel more like a poet now than I have ever felt in my life. But there's still that imposter, because because it's one thing publishing your own stuff and all that stuff, and again there's it's like with any art, you got to put yourself out there, and there's that rejection factor, because you're going to get rejected. You're going to get rejected more than you will get accepted.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I was lucky in life.
Well, yeah, and I was lucky that I got 4 poems published last year.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Well, 3 of them were in the same publication, though.
But that's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
they
they,
accepted 3. That's big.
yeah, and
That's really big.
the Lone Man Rambles was one of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And here, I can let me read you
What
the
are
one
you?
the first one. This is the first one I'd gotten published last year,
Okay.
and it's called The Bridge.
Okay.
Here it goes. The wind blew, blustery and bright, off of my left, easterly in direction, as I stepped onto the rickety old bridge. A knot in one of the precariously positioned planks caught a misplaced toe, stumbling steps, arms whirling in a bid to regain balance before I fell through the suddenly seen gap in the handrails to my right into the gaping chasm below. Then the gale force wind shifted, streaming now from the right. Backpedaling a step or two, my cattywampus equilibrium corrected itself, and off the rails disaster postponed for now. I glanced back behind me. Alrighty then, I said. Now my forward momentum, not all of my forward momentum, had been stymied. Again, I proceeded on the journey across the bridge. I reached out with both hands, right and left and right, looking out for pitfalls, grasped onto the railings, and stumbled on.
That's beautiful. Very nice. And I've not frequently heard the use of the word cattywampus so appropriately used. I liked it.
Yeah, well, that one's about politics.
Oh, okay. Yes, the left and right imagery makes sense. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
All
there's
right.
the other key images, precariously placed plank. On a platform, you
Okay.
got the
Yeah.
different planks,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
and everybody from our generation knows the Karate Kid
Mm-hmm.
when Mr. Miyagi is sitting Daniel down and he's telling him, if you walk to the left side of the road, safe. Walk right side of the road, safe. In the middle, soon go squish like grape.
Yep.
He used that as a metaphor for karate, right? Well, I kind of flipped it
Mm-hmm.
on its end, and using a
Mm-hmm.
bridge as a metaphor for politics.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so if you go down the middle, no matter what happens, something comes along, you got the railing on the right or the left side of you to keep you from falling over and going into disaster. It's when
Mm-hmm.
you start walking on those rails, gale force wind to come through and off into the
The
chasm you go.
the image that came to my mind was not simply a bridge, but a swinging bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know why but
but yeah,
that's what came to my mind.
that's the image I had in mind when I was writing it. And actually,
Perfect.
what brought that one about was I'd had that image in my head for years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it was not this. It was December of 22 because this got published
Mm-hmm.
early last year.
Okay.
I was watching this dude on this British guy was doing some stuff on Scientology.
Yes.
All right,
Oh, Andrew
and of
Gould.
course, no. This was a young
Oh.
guy,
Oh.
young guy, very very conservative. He dressed like in this very. You could tell he pressed his suits and the
Gotcha.
tie all the way up there, and he said something that about Fox News being fair and balanced.
Really?
Yeah, and this British guy saying Fox News is fair and balanced. But that's what caused me that was the no, it wasn't Alex. I don't know what this guy's name is. I don't remember.
Okay.
I wish I could. But yeah, and it was just like okay, and I started scribbling that out.
Yeah.
It just it's the writing process. It just depends. It's
Yep.
something I like. It's something I can control sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So you got any more questions? Anybody?
While other people are thinking of some questions, I'm going to ask you a difficult question here. I'm going to have you reach into your thought processes. If I ask you to put together a poem in a minute or a minute and a half, would you be able to do that for us?
Don't know.
Okay.
That's not how my talent works sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
For me, I've not considered myself a poet by any stretch, but I have been able to, over the years, write poetry. The first one I ever wrote that I was even sort of proud of, I was in grade 1, and I actually, it just was just a good little, tiny little poem. But yeah, it's just one of those things where your brain either functions with a literalistic mind or a symbolic mind. It functions with the gravity of the situation, or it uplifts into maybe the surreal, maybe simply the more hopeful, whatever. I'm just going to continue talking as you write because it looks like you're doing well. And yes, Mary says, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for all alerts so you know when we are going live. I do live every Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Well, it's Saskatchewan time. So sometimes it's Mountain Time, sometimes it's Central Time. Depends on the time of year. And this is our second episode with Bryan. I don't know if it'll be our last because this has been fun. We'll have to see how that goes. Maybe when he gets himself some new poetry or something like that. I have asked him about his collections. If you're enjoying his poetry, Memories Carved in So Much Dust, I did not write that correctly, and All About Scientology. Those are both found on Amazon, and they are available any way you need it. So All About Scientology, apparently, as you type in All About Scientology into Amazon, that's the first thing that'll come up is his book. So that'll be really easy to find. And you've experienced the power of his writing. So I would really recommend that you do take a look at his collections. They are fantastic. Read some of them, maybe try to figure out what some of his imagery is about, or if it's supposed to be a literal translation of something, or whatever. I think that would be a fun exercise to do. Mary says her poetry is in her crochet hook. Exactly. My poetry, more often than not, is in my paintings. I'm going to grab one from across the room from me, and it is one that I'm really proud of. It is the view from outside the hospital room of where my stepdad, was as he died.
Wow. So, that's nice.
Thank you. Yeah, so again, it's one of those things like this one probably only took me 15 minutes to paint because the image was so stark in my brain. And
that's it, right
one
there.
One of those things, yep. When the image is right there. All right.
It comes to you. I don't know about this.
All right.
You go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't know who's knocking on the door. Open it and I'll find out. Maybe it's an angel in disguise. That's something I won't realize until I turn the knob and open the door.
Very good. That's a nice short little verse. I like it. It's the uncertainty of the now.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
that might
just a yeah.
Who knows?
I was in. Pardon?
That's the beauty of art. Who knows?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yes. um, when I was teaching English as a subsequent language, we were talking about the poem In Flanders Fields.
In
And then we
Flanders.
talked about In Flanders Fields where poppies grow, between the crosses, row on row. Are you familiar with that? Usually it's you find it around Remembrance Day or
Okay.
Veterans Day, I guess. And it was
Yeah,
a
you.
Canadian doctor who wrote the
Oh,
poem.
cool.
So it'll be much more famous in Canada, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is beautiful. So we went through all of the imagery in there, and I asked them to figure out something that they would be able to experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, let's write a very simple poem. They're like, what? I can't write a poem in English. That's not how it works. So I got them to do some word association.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, tell me three things about X and just three words, this word, this word, this word. And as we did that, by the end of it, we had a fully structured 2 or 3 sentence
Mm-hmm.
poem.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long, but man, it was powerful because it came from everybody. It was completely
Mm-hmm.
unintentional, but it was perfect. So sometimes it's the unintentional that are so just
Yeah.
profound.
Yeah. 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 I get it because like the I'll get stuff through email exchange or yeah, I totally understand.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
that's that feeling that one of the reasons I write
Hmm.
poetry is my attention span sucks.
Hmm.
My
Same
my
here.
attention span,
Yep.
and poetry is little snapshots, you know. And like the problem I have with writing prose is I get bored easy,
Mm. Hmm.
and then I'll lose my train of thought, and I'll have stuff composed in my head. Okay, I want to do this, and then it just fizzles out.
Yep.
With poetry, you got these little snapshots,
Hmm.
and like you can do a lot with a little. You know, like the my All About Scientology collection. It's haikus and
Yes.
limericks. I freaking hate
Yep.
writing haikus. Yeah, yeah. But
But
I
then there
I
are some
ended up
people, they
writing.
love haiku.
Yep, and but it's that, and they're compact, and it's like when I was writing that collection, I was working my butt off. It was difficult because I was trying to get it to within that structure, the 575, and getting the ideas
Hmm.
down,
Hmm.
and and it was like, okay, do I position this word here or this word here? If I change this word, it'll change that meaning, and yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah. So structure can be fun to play around with,
For
and but
sure.
it can
Absolutely.
but it can also be confining, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And that's one of the beauties of free verse is it takes that structure out of it. And
Yep.
my best friend, one of my best friends, she was like, gave me some advice. She was like, uh, especially when it comes to writing rhyming poetry, is
Hmm.
if you can't figure out how to do it with a rhyme, see if you can do it with a free verse and then change it into that. You know, so
So describe what a free verse is.
free verse is it's a non-structured. It's non-structured. Usually, it 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 the usually the components are there's hardly any rhyming, right? The sentence structure is very fluid,
Hmm.
because some forms you have to have so many syllables in a
Yeah.
line, and so you can throw that stuff out the window, and it concentrates on the flow of the words, how they sound, what and then you can do all kinds of stuff like with the different different consonants and vowels and the sounds and everything. It's more concentrating on image and sound and all that stuff. I don't know if it's coming off correctly, but it's less structured. You don't have
Right.
the A B C D rhyme schemes,
Right.
and yeah. So, it's
Okay.
just like with the bridge. I took these images and I was like, okay, here, here, and here,
Yeah.
and didn't put any thought into the structure.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that's that one you would call free verse?
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's an excellent example then.
And then here I sit is actually verse because
Okay.
it's got a certain number of syllables per line. I actually remember working on that, going counting I was like I had it printed out, and beside it I was like, okay, counting syllables. Okay, I need to shorten it up. I can put an
Mhm.
extra syllable here, get rid of this syllable
Mhm.
there. Do I get rid of the e? And it's just it's a lot
Mhm.
of work. You know.
It can be for sure, I imagine. Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Mhm.
you, Mary, for putting the links to Brian's books
Yeah.
from Amazon online.
Thank you.
For anybody who chooses to purchase those books, um, my greatest thanks.
Yeah.
This is a gentleman who I would call him a young man because he's younger than me by 10 days. So, so if that's going to be the hallmark that you're younger than me, then you're a young man who
Yeah.
is living life and healing with poetry, I think.
Yeah.
So I hope that sometime in the not terribly distant future, you can get to the point where you can write about maybe not specific instances, but write about
Hmm.
your childhood or write about some of these things. And I would love to hear about that.
Hmm.
So if ever that comes to mind, please let me know.
I
Um,
will.
and if you, the watching public, would like to hear more from Brian, let me know as well. I'd love to have him on and read
Yeah.
some more of his
Anytime.
collection about his thought process and
Mhm.
all of that. I find this fascinating.
I'm glad
So
you do.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming today, Brian. I really
Hmm.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I
Thank
appreciate you having me on.
you. Oh, I'm so glad we were able to do this for a second day. So, alrighty,
Hmm.
I will see the rest of you, or even you as well, Brian, on Tuesday. I do not currently have a guest plowed in there, but I have some ideas. So, I will see you Tuesday at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.